experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Good morning, everybody.
You're freezing on us, Nicole. You froze on us. Nicole, you have frozen on us.
Let it go, let it go.
Oh, boy.
I'm just happy it wasn't me.
Yes.
Or me, since I'm stealing that sweet, sweet fiber from my granny's neighbor.
Right? Well, I'll tell you what. Let me help out a little bit. And good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, November 24th. Today is National Sardines Day, as well as it's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone out there. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, and make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse as well. If you are in Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, I believe we're going to go and pay a bill real quick. Or maybe we're not, because I don't see Nicole. I don't know where she went. She has disappeared. Oh, man.
She'll be back.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes. What are you thankful for, Liz?
I am thankful for cannabis progress throughout the country. 5 cities decriminalized the possession of small amounts of marijuana in Texas. And I got to say, I'm really, really thankful for that. I'm thankful for that. People going to the polls and make choices known. So that's what I'm thankful for, Jason. What about you?
I'm just thankful for everything that we're able to be here, that we live in the greatest country in the world, that I'm able to smoke the best weed in the world, and available to bring the news to everybody 5 days a week.
All right, Dale, your turn.
Dale?
Oh, any day that I'm not in prison is a good day.
I've been out now, Dale,
for 7 years, and I've got 5 kids, 12 grandkids. I'm thankful for them. I can spend time with them. I'm always
she's
thankful.
Back. She's back.
Progress.
She's back. She's back in the building.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. My internet went down. Oh, we lost Gretchen too.
She'll be back. Where did she go, Gretchen?
Everyone's internet is not working on Thanksgiving. I'm not very thankful for my internet.
We were just hearing Dale. We were just hearing Dale talk about how thankful he is not being in prison, having 5 kids, 12 grandkids. Right, Dale?
Yep.
Did I pretty much?
Oh, yeah, you got it. Mm-hmm.
Nice. What about you, Nicole? What are you thankful for?
She's frozen.
She's
that
frozen.
Beautiful face.
What is going on, Nicole? Oh, my goodness.
At least she's not frozen with her eyes closed.
Yeah, at least she's frozen in a pretty picture.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good, it's like a screenshot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You guys are missing out on all this great action over in Clubhouse. You guys definitely should come over to YouTube so you can see this live, because this is a fantastic image over here we have going on today.
It's just smoke break time, I think.
Is that what it is? Are we having a smoke break? Are you guys in Clubhouse going to have a toke break?
Yeah. Have a toke break. Ooh.
Yes.
Mm.
Shout out to Ben Lubon. Say hey, Ben.
Oh,
Morning.
good morning, Ben. How is everything going? I guess I might as well read my story if
Yeah, read that.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, do it.
You know what I'm saying? So today my story comes out of Capitol Hill because cannabis banking supporters scramble to reach a deal during the lame duck session. Urgency is building in the Senate to get cannabis legislation passed before the year is over. The specter of a Republican-led House has lit fire under proponents of cannabis banking legislation, according to three House and Senate staffers involved in discussions on both sides of the aisle. Senate Banking Chair Sherrod Brown, Democrat from Ohio, Senator Steve Daines, Republican from Montana, and Jeff Merkley, Democrat from Oregon, and other lawmakers met with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer last week to talk about the Safe Banking Act. Lawmakers and staffers all said a concentrated effort is underway to find common ground between Republicans and Democrats. In a quote, "We're serious. We want to do this," Brown said. "I'm actually fairly optimistic and hopeful that we will come to an agreement. The key to passage is twofold. They must find a pairing of financial services and criminal justice reform centered cannabis legislation that progressive Democrats and conservative Republicans can all accept. And then they must sign off from the leaders of the Senate Banking Committee, House Financial Services Committee, and the four corners of party leadership in both chambers. Both efforts are already underway. Daines said last week Republicans are open to the HOPE Act, a bill introduced by Representative Dave Joyce, Republican from Ohio, and AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York, that creates grants for state expungement programs. Joyce said research language is also on the table. In a quote, "We're open to some additions to it," Daines said. "I think the HOPE Act is one, but if it gets bigger than that, I think we're going to have a problem." Brown, meanwhile, is working with Senate Banking Ranking Member Pat Toomey, Republican from Pennsylvania, House Financial Services Chair Maxine Waters, Democrat from California, and House Financial Services Ranking Member Patrick McHenry, Republican from North Carolina. Some things will be kicked upstairs to the leaders. Others will be done on our level, Brown explained. On the criminal justice reform side, the Safe Banking Act has already passed the House in some form 6 times already, but it has been stuck in the Senate, where it either went too far for certain Republican leaders or not far enough for progressives. The bill would not solve all banking issues faced by the cannabis industry, but it would make it easier for cannabis businesses to open bank accounts and to get loans. Many industry representatives and even some advocates argue that the bill would particularly help smaller and minority-owned companies, since most of the country's largest cannabis companies already having access to banking services. The bill, however, has sparked resistance from some progressives during reform groups who argue that the cannabis industry should not be given a leg up when there are so many people in other states experiencing arrest and incarceration for marijuana-related crimes. Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, has repeatedly said he opposes passage of a bill that helps weed businesses without in some way helping communities that have been hurt by the criminalization of marijuana over the years. Schumer and Brown backed Booker's position, while Republicans largely held firm that safe banking didn't need any companion bills. But it's now the 11th hour, and Republicans are starting to come around to the HOPE Act, a states' rights-focused expungement bill. States' rights and expungement bill. Joyce, a co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus, has been campaigning hard for the bill with other Republicans since it was introduced last December, and met with Schumer earlier this year to discuss common ground. AOC Ocasio-Cortez plugged the bill during a House Oversight Committee subcommittee hearing last week and said she plans to discuss it more with a few Democrats during the lame duck session. Neither Booker nor Brown, however, would share details on their discussions around the HOPE Act, leaving open the question of how Senate Democrats feel about the expungement bill. It's not impossible to get the HOPE passed in a Republican-led House, but doing so creates significant hurdles, one senior House staffer said via text, speaking anonymously to offer a candid assessment of the legislative dynamics. Playing a waiting game could derail progress for years to come, he says. And then we have some question marks because Democrats are working on getting the green light from Toomey and Senate Judiciary Ranking Member Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, for the bill to move forward. Toomey and his office declined to provide any updates to Politico, and a further complicating factor is the resistance from advocacy group Drug Policy Alliance, which has significant influence with progressive lawmakers like Booker. Marita Perez, director of the group's Office of Federal Affairs, told Politico on Friday that if substantial amendments aren't added to either Safe Banking Act or the HOPE Act, DPA won't support a cannabis package. Brown, a key negotiator, also indicated this week that SAFE needs some tweaking. What passed the House is very inadequate, Brown said. My main focus is to protect the workers in this industry. To talk of 11th hour changes in the language to SAFE are not going over well with Republican supporters who have also been working months to bring the two sides together. When people add things to SAFE, such as different financial decisions or market decisions, I think that will bog it down, Joyce said. The way it exists now, there seems to be consensus on the ability to move the overall language, make the bill move forward in Congress. However, it's entirely different from the last Congress. While it still faces hurdles, lawmakers seem genuinely optimistic that the legislation could pass in this session and are taking steps to work out their differences. Last week, the Senate passed a landmark medical marijuana research bill by unanimous consent. After its passage, Schumer lauded the prospects of a cannabis banking bill. I'm still holding productive talks with Democrats and Republican colleagues in the House and the Senate on moving additional bipartisan cannabis legislation in the lame duck, and we are going to try very, very hard to get it done, he says. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys all need to try a little bit harder than that. You guys need to pass safe banking now. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News.
I'm going to start here with the dumb question. Can you just explain what the term lame duck means?
Lame duck.
I asked that before. Yay. I'm so glad that I'm not the only fucking person. Oh.
The lame duck session refers to the time from in between an election to when members in Congress are sworn in January and actually take office.
And it's because they have any power because they are no longer, so they call it a lame duck.
They can pass legislation, the president can sign it.
Yes,
they can do that sort of thing.
They could.
No, absolutely. During the lame duck, that's not a problem. It is there's no content. So if you want to be a rogue guy, Earl Perlmutter, who is retiring out, he can be. But if you're Joe Schmo, who run for re-election again years, like any other congressman, tepid.
Gretchen, we're having a really hard time hearing you. It's breaking up. Like we hear like every other word. And I feel like you have like really important information to tell us right now. I did hear Joe Schmo. I heard Joe Schmo, and I was like,
and I'm like, wait, that's me.
Well, I could go. I would prefer walking.
Can you just hardwire yourself into the internet, please? Because
I think that works. That way.
I'm really glad though, honestly, that you asked that, Liz, because I asked a couple weeks ago and I was like, man, I could Google this, but I feel like I'm a relatively intelligent person and I don't know what this means. And so I think if I don't know what this means, it's worth asking on our show because like, what the heck, other people will want to know. And it makes me really happy that you also, I know that I don't mean to be a jerk, like that you also didn't know, but like,
no, it's absolutely right. I mean, I feel you, sister. It's like, what is the information? It's not valuable if the masses aren't getting it, and if we use a term so often that some people who are using that term don't actually really understand what it means.
I had no idea what GOP meant for a long time. I just knew that it meant the Republicans. And then one day, like Jason was like, grand old party. And I was like, oh my fucking God. Yeah. I'm glad I went my entire life until like last year.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
When you know it's that much more of a slap in the face.
Yeah.
All right, I took
Gretchen.
out the headphones.
Are you with us, Gretchen?
Can you hear me?
Are you? Yes, we hear you.
I'm trying.
We don't want your cookies to burn.
They're fine. All right. Suck is when you no longer have power because you have been when after the election, someone like Ed Perlmutter, who's retiring at the end of the year, so he can do. But if you are Joe Schmo, like a congressman, you are going to be running 2 years, so they semi-care. But when, say, Democrats for everything, for a short limit, shit can happen. But it's basically because you're not coming back to run again, or you are not being next Congress.
Got it. You're flapping your wings into the sunset.
Huh?
I just said you're flapping your wings into the sunset at that point. Is that like the lame duck? Like it's just somebody who's doesn't have anything in.
Lame ducks don't go into the right direction. They follow real duck. Not lame ducks.
Yeah, they don't fly south for the winter.
They're not doing the right patterns. They're going on the opposite or not to.
They're flying. They're
I
flying
actually
north.
understood. That was the fun
They're
part.
flying into the
I actually
darkness.
understood the what's the word?
The metaphor.
Metaphor. I understood the metaphor of what was being told to me. And so I was like, oh, it's people going where like they're going the wrong way. They don't really care. They're kind of lost, but they don't realize like you need to get to South America before it gets cold here in Canada. They didn't realize that. And so I understood the like actual metaphor, but I didn't grasp the political tie to it. But now
right. And
now
that's how powerful metaphors are. I love that.
Well,
I get that too, but yeah, it makes sense.
Lame duck sessions of Congress and lame duck presidents have created some of the largest controversies in our country because if let's say you're the president and your 2 terms, you're done.
You don't care. You're like, fuck it, drop these laws.
You don't give a shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we're going to flip Congress.
What's interesting.
And that means that
Jason referred
Yeah, what does that mean, Dale?
That means that the Democrats now only have a certain time frame to get something passed. They have enough to get through. They have a president who would sign it. Okay. So they're going to try to push as much of their agenda through as they can. And the Republicans are going to go, hang on for a second. And the wars start. And what we're talking about trying to get legislation through, if they butt heads and get into pissing matches over stupid shit, it's hard to imagine we're going to get substantive legislation through before the next Congress starts.
Okay.
Wow. I feel like we're almost in like a lame duck presidency, even though we know that we can kind of hear you. But even though we know that this is his first term, I feel like he knows he's not coming back. So I feel like we might have a lame duck presidency.
I mean, he says he's going to run again.
That's crazy.
And Gavin Newsom says he's not. So do you believe that? Right. Okay.
Part interesting here, if you can hear me, I don't know, is who's in charge of Senate financial shit is also out. He is retiring. John Fetterman is taking. So that's how you have Republican support. You need who are still on board to get this shit.
Oh, interesting fact right there. Very interesting fact. Right there, Gretchen. I like that.
Can you say it again so that I can understand what she said? Because I only heard every other word.
She basically said that that the Democratic banking chairman, who is not coming back for re-election, is going to be Republican Pat Toomey is going to be replaced. Republican Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania is going to be replaced by John Fetterman in this coming up. So that's putting added pressure on Republicans to get something done on safe banking before Fetterman gets sworn in.
Also, a banking. He's one of the few Republicans. So Toomey, he's hitting the road, and he's going to dance company and make a shit ton of money. Doesn't care, so he can push this through on being the ranking member on the finance committee.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Jason, I think you have something to scream at us about this article.
That is so true. All I have to say is everyone is past safe banking already. But nonetheless, coming up next, she's a cannabis business consultant, an industry veteran, a general overall bullshit buster, and a self-proclaimed data bitch, boasting over 13 years in the regulated market, but with deep roots in the legacy industry as well. She's also now the COO at Butters in Santa Ana. And at one point in time, she did some time for a cannabis crime. It is none other than the Nicole West.
Thank you so much, Jason. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Sorry, my internet was battling against me earlier. I feel like it's kind of fighting all of us today. Everyone's at home using the interwebs, watching the Netflix in the morning. But yeah, my headline today is actually coming out of India, and I think this is probably one of the funnier stories I've heard in a very long time. Let me put myself to the headline. Boom. I'm sorry, guys. I'm running the show. But this is actually hilarious. The headline is coming out of India, where police claim that rats ate 600 kilos of confiscated marijuana. What a great Thanksgiving these rats had. Police in India have claimed that rats have eaten almost 600 kilograms of cannabis after a court demanded the confiscated material be produced as evidence during a trial for people facing these drug charges. Police in Mathura, in the nation's northern region, told magistrates 581 kilograms of the drug has gone missing from its 2 storerooms. The confiscated haul had reportedly been sitting for almost 4 years after 6 alleged drug smugglers were stopped at a motorway and had their drugs seized in 2 consignments in 2018 and 2019. Public prosecutors Ranveer Singh claimed the drugs were eaten by rodents and they could not be produced. There's no place in the police station to store goods and where we could save them from the rats. The remaining cannabis at huge consignment were destroyed by officers, the prosecutors told the court. Prosecutors said rodent infestation was an impossible issue to deal with a similar case occurring in 2017 when officers claimed that 45 kilos of marijuana was eaten by the cheeky pests again. Another similar incident this year when police in neighboring Bihar claimed that the rodents had drinking nearly 1 million liters of alcohol kept in the storerooms. Being small in size, these rats have no fear of the police, or rather wear their own little shirts that say, "Fuck the police," the prosecutor said. They didn't say that, I said that. The smugglers are currently on trial for drug trafficking, a process that can take years or even decades to complete under the Indian jurisdiction. So I am super amused by this story. I hope that the rats continue to eat all the weed because it is a part of the court hearing that they are going to need to be able to produce evidence of this. So if they didn't have photos, if it didn't get on the gram, if you don't know pics, it didn't happen. So I think this is really awesome. All they have is photos of boxes with holes in them so far to produce. So I'm really curious to see how this shakes out. I also am really glad that I don't have any of these crazy rats around my house because I need to be able to keep the weed for myself and stay high at 9 and every other hour with you guys. So I like to hear what you guys all have to say about this ridiculous story.
Are we sure that these were actually that the evidence was taken by actual rats and not snitches?
Right. I was like, are they using a metaphor? Are they using a metaphor?
Interesting. But what the alcohol got me. Like they are like partying. Okay. We're not just talking about, cannabis, eating the cannabis. They're partying.
Gretchen got it going on over there.
Gretchen
Her smoke
got those
alarm's going off.
Cookies.
Yeah.
It was the rats, officer. I don't know. It wasn't me. It was these rats.
She's buying
anyway,
some
amazing
shit over
story.
there.
Well, I
can't even
have
believe it.
stories that are legal. I was in prison with a guy that the coke that he was busted with, when they went to look at it, it was powdered sugar. And it wasn't rats that took it. It was cops that took it. And and so the evidence was gone. So they had an analysis by a lab technician that, yes, indeed, it was coke. Well, this guy ends up dead. And the piece of paper was hearsay. The guy who did the analysis had to come testify. The cops killed him. Okay. So I was in the joint with a guy from Detroit who came in and testified for the feds. Yes, I tested it when I bought it. It had coke in it. When they took it from me, it had coke in it. So they could prove up a murder case against these dirty fucking cops. And this happens for real. It's not, chuckle laughs. No, the rats didn't eat the shit. People took it and smoked it and drank the alcohol. But this happens in real time. And sometimes the rats turn out to be post-certified officers that'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely heard.
Thanks for the reality check, Dale.
I've heard of some like chaotic ass shit happening for sure like this, but I've never seen it like end up in the paper where they're like, I've seen it where it's like, oh, the things went missing, but for them to just be like, nope, it was rats. For sure, the rats was rats for the alcohol, it was rats for the 50 kilos before. For these 200 kilos, the rats just keep eating this shit. And now first of all, rats are a problem in India. There are a lot of rats in India. That is not a misstatement, right? Like, so if you are going to blame something for eating all your shit in India, rats are probably your best
How many kids use this in school? Like the rats ate my
homework.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Dale, yes, not, it's funny, but it's not, it's funny that they're claiming that it was rats. It's not funny because you know what actually happened. And like, we're all very aware that rats did not eat hundreds of kilos of weed. You know, if it was like hundreds of kilos of like weed gummies, I might buy it. But like, also, how fucking high would those rats be? Like, there would just be like rats like laying around. Like, they like already would have started like a band or something. Like, come on, we would all.
They would not be going back through those little holes. I guarantee you that. It's just too much trouble to dislocate all your body parts. They're just like, nah, I'm gonna chill right here, and all the rats would be there. No,
I have a very good friend of mine, and he was telling me a story. He had bought like a half ounce of this like really good Molly and was just like saving it for when he wanted to party and turn up and whatnot. And he hid it inside of his wall in his house. Okay. And when he went back for it, the rats had eaten all of this half ounce of Molly. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I cannot even believe that the rats would eat that. And secondly, like, those rats must have been turned up. Like, what they had the disco music going in the
right? They're like
basement and just like like stealing
they
all the
got
glow sticks in the house.
Yeah,
sweatbands,
like licking each other's faces.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man,
what a fucking party! But I mean, okay, and also, you know, India is very conservative with a lot of things too. So like, this was worth money. That was a very expensive. You know, that rat would have been in like all the Gucci by the end of it as well. You know,
I mean, I'll tell you what, if you live in India and you're a criminal and you sell drugs, your best bet is to be breeding rats.
Whoa,
you're just like a rat. You're like, I make these.
These are genetically modified rats that are trained to just go and eat drugs and
get the drugs.
Yes.
I mean,
sign me up.
Sign me up.
Sounds like a racket to me.
Yeah, you
train the rats to shit a little bit and go, oh, look, the rats all ate it, and the truck drives away.
I mean,
we're on contract, man.
But he was a rat breeder, so it could happen. That's what they say.
Oh man.
Well, define breeder. That's kind of rat small to be breeding, but you know, bring them together and see what happens, right?
Earlier, did I get, when my internet cut out, did the commercial play?
No, we did not get any commercial.
All right. Well, we're gonna get 2 commercials back to back today because we didn't get one earlier. Sorry about my internet. Thank you all for bearing with us. Let's support these fucking rad brands, and we'll be right back. At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Want to grow some of the best weed in the world? Then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie.
Amazing. Thank you guys for that. I know we have Gretchen trying to sort her kitchen internet. Let's hear you talk.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Really good.
Yes.
Is that much better?
Way
it's
better.
So much better.
Yes.
All right. Fantastic.
Gretchen's over here doing tech support.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sure we're gonna see a ghost in your other screen while you're not there. There's gonna be like somebody because your house is for sure haunted. It's too old to not be
Oh
haunted.
my God, please.
It's too old to not be haunted.
I've seen actual real people in her house, and she claims that no one's there.
Yeah. All right, Gretchen, let me update our headline today. We've got some really fun information coming from Gretchen Gailey. Gretchen's the founder of Synoptic Strategies, our Washington insider. And today, our little Mary homemaker over here whipping up some treats for us on Thanksgiving. Gretchen, sugar, spice, everything nice. And, you know, everything tastes better with butter. So let's roll this. What do you have for us today?
Well, my headline, like in Vegas, I'm going to do in a nutshell. And pretty much there's not much else to it. All of us were quite excited to see the cookies store pop up in Herald Square. And everyone said that this was just a marketing ploy and all that, which I still believe it truly is, especially after this. Now it is photobombing the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now, I watched the parade for just a little bit, not the whole time. And I didn't see the damn thing. But however, supposedly, the idea was that the cookie store would pop up in the back of the shots, the NBC News, maybe behind Al Roker or somebody commentating on the parade, and would have gave cookies a lot of brand recognition and would put cannabis center stage on America's favorite parade. So what do y'all think about this? Do you think cookies had the forethought to actually plan this out and get into the back of the parade, or they just lucked out here?
Yes.
I think
Yes,
they lucked
they
out,
did.
but also I think there's something happening that's going to be, it's not as big of a brand, which sucks, but the Pasadena Rose Parade goes straight down Pasadena Boulevard. It's going to go by 2 dispensaries that are on Pasadena Boulevard. And I think that's going to be really interesting too. But
it's good business.
I feel like that's just such a good location. I don't know that they thought about that. I think that was just like
that's just part of
happy coincidence. It's like a fucking Bob Ross.
Listen, somebody sold it to them. Somebody sold it to them. Somebody leased it to them. And I guarantee you that was their number one ploy, was that you know how much exposure you will get, especially with the cookies color, the logo. I mean, I think that cannabis brands have been one step ahead of marketing for years and years and years. Okay. And they find innovative ways to market because we're cut off at every turn, you know? And so I absolutely give 100% props to the cookies team and the cookies marketing team, because I think that they planned this. And
I feel like we need to ask some real estate people in New York if that's actually a selling factor for those buildings, because if that's a selling factor for those buildings, if that's like a part of what they pitch, where they're like, oh, and then
100% it is.
Yeah,
It's like
you don't go there to hide. I don't go there to hide. I go there to shine. Okay. People, I mean, that's that's like the busiest crossroads in the world, right? Is like all that area. I mean, just, you know, Times Square. I mean, if you get your brand there, you guarantee eyeballs on your brand, period. You win, you know, and
I'm willing to bet that it is possible that if this actually did really happen, that whoever is the angler for the shot or whatever, the person that holds that job ends up getting fired or something for all of this.
I don't know about that. I would think that frankly, if I were NBC and I were a field producer for them, which I have held that job, I would have made sure, no offense, cookies, for cookies not to appear in the background. I would have
usually like this angle, this angle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They would have prepared for that.
Angle,
But they might not have noticed. They might have been like, "Oh, nice new little cookie shop here." For
How
her.
did they
Who
not
knows?
notice? Cut it out.
Please.
Cut it out like the cookies, Gretchen.
Cut it out like the cookies. When they're setting up their camera. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but we're talking about it though. You know, I mean, this is High at 9 News.
Gretchen, Jeff Sessions knows who Cookies is. So like everyone knows who's Cookies. Like at this point,
you really think Jeff Sessions knows whose Cookies is?
1,000%.
No way. I don't think he has it. No, I don't think he has a clue to
1,000%.
No way.
Jeff Sessions,
trust me, I guarantee you.
Jeff Sessions doesn't care enough about weed.
Most of the photogs I know would be like, "Woo, cookies," thinking they're gonna get fed. They're not thinking cannabis.
Not at all.
But anyways, do y'all want to talk about getting fed?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. It's Thanksgiving.
On your refrigerator.
All you people care about baking, want to see me actually bake something. So
I just want to get baked.
I'm going to do some pie for you.
Baked with Gretchen.
Watch, you're going to get the boob angle because frankly, that's the only way to make this work.
Yes. Thank you.
Spicing up on Thanksgiving morning.
I'm a breast kind of girl on Thanksgiving myself.
I'm
right,
a legs girl. I'm a legs girl.
Number one question I get when it comes to baking is pie crust. I don't know why it's so hard. People cannot seem to master pie crust. I'm going to tell you the secret to any good pie crust is a food processor. You need to mix your ingredients, and you need very cold ingredients. And you also need measuring cups, and you can't eyeball this shit. Baking is a science. You know how we love to talk about the science in cannabis? It's the same damn thing in baking. You can't fake it. If you fuck it up, then it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket. So for my pie crust, I like 1.25 cups of flour. Bam. Not that hard. Then I use a whole stick of butter. And
One
for those
whole
stick. I like Kerrygold.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know if Kerrygold
I love butter
here on a cannabis show, but here we go. Because frankly, ingredients matter. And this Irish butter is the best butter out there for your baking products. So I don't care that it's more money.
Salted or unsalted, Gretchen? Did you say salted or unsalted?
What? I unsalted.
Unsalted.
Okay. When it comes to baking, you always want to control the salt, and so you don't want to use salted butter. Okay. So always use unsalted, unless the recipe calls for you to use salted, but they rarely do. I'm
gonna yell at my cooking book. I'll be like, Gretchen said no.
No.
Yeah. Gretchen said no. So Gretchen, I just have a question. It's cold butter because the idea is that it melts when you bake it, and that's what makes it so like delicious and yummy and perfect in pie crust.
And cold butter is really essential. Liz, you'll appreciate this for a good biscuit. I know down in Texas, y'all love your biscuits. And so you need the really cold butter to melt while it's being baked, so it creates those airy pockets. When it comes to making your pie crust, the cold butter is good for helping to hold the crust together and not be sticking to actually assemble your pie crust.
Okay. I don't like airy pockets. I like my pockets full.
We like airy pockets.
All right. Lastly, we throw in a teaspoon of salt. And we put on
Gretchen, why do you shake the machinery? Why do you shake the machinery?
I shake to make sure that everything's getting incorporated and mixes in. And for those who are wondering, you should have like a cornmeal kind of grainy texture. That's how you know that it's done.
A little chunky, yeah.
Little chunky. If it's not chunky, you're fucked.
Looks like hard drugs.
Fucked. I think that should be the name of your first cookbook.
In your biscuit, are you fucked?
If it's not chunky, you're
fucked. Okay.
So then,
now come on.
What you're going to add is a little bit of water, and you do this as you go.
How much is a little bit, Gretchen?
A smidgen.
You you would use less than 1/4 cup. It should be ice cold water if you can. But as you can see, it just comes right together. And that's what it should do. And if it doesn't come together, if it's still
you're fucked,
then you are going to keep adding water until you get it to the consistency you want.
That's the follow-up book.
At what point do you know you're fucked, though? Yeah, at what point? Because sometimes,
as you see, this came together fairly quickly.
Whoa, easy there. Easy, Turbo.
Whoa. And so if it does not come together fairly quickly, Liz, then you know you're fucked.
And you just have to start
this is not a long process, but see, you have.
I like that. I like to know that I'm fucked just quicker, sooner than later.
It's nice, real fast. You get fucked. It's not hard.
Yeah, I get it.
So there you go. It's like a ball.
On. Let me move. As you can see, I have a typical DC house, so I have no room in this kitchen. And I just kind of fake it. I want to get out my rolling pin. This is a French pastry pin, which I love. And I just roll it out. Normally, what I would do is I would take a pie crust and I would throw it in the fridge for a good at least 30 minutes to be even colder. But for show purposes, I'm doing it for you now.
Appreciate that.
Can you see? I don't know.
Hey, I have a question. Yes. You're using cold butter to lube up and soften your biscuit before you get fucked. Am I understanding this?
That is correct, Dale.
I'm curious. I just want to know. Okay.
I mean, you don't want to use hot butter. That just burns.
Okay, so Rico asked if there is a vegan alternative, which I appreciate the question, but Gretchen's about to get real right now.
Do you really think that there's I vegans don't enter my kitchen because it ain't happening.
Yeah.
Vegetarians also stay away.
Yikes. I'll sneak you guys some food.
You can look at other things, I suppose. Is shortening considered vegan? I don't know what's vegan or not. I think shortening is because it's just fat, right?
But fat's fat.
It's hydrogenated oil.
Hydrogenated oil.
Oh, okay.
Large
okay, so
fat.
yes, you can use
fat.
shortening in instead of butter if you must. But don't set foot in my kitchen if you want vegan, vegetarian, not happening.
Bye.
All right.
What if you're a flexitarian?
Because you don't want to heat it.
What's a flexitarian? What?
Yes.
Non-binary, huh? Right?
I don't know any of those words. Yes. I am a good Republican girl from Pittsburgh. I don't know what any of that shit means. All right. So, bring over the laptop. There you go. There. Can you see it? Yeah, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
There's my
that looks so good.
So you got it all flattened out now.
I got it all rolled out.
It's
Here's my
you
plate.
look like you're making a pizza.
Making a pizza. I like to put my plate just flat down, flip it.
Look at that.
I use wax paper. You can use parchment paper.
What
And also remember my favorite rule that Julia Childs tells everybody: you're the only one in the kitchen, so they can't see when you F it up. All right. So now I start putting my dough. And the best thing about a pumpkin pie is it's nice and homey, and so you don't have to get too fancy with the crust. You can if you want. I have pie cutters and all sorts of junk. But I'm going to stick with a traditional
just fold it on over
thumbprint crust.
I love that.
All right, so here it's kind of still a little rough. So what you do is you pinch. I use one hand to guide, and then I go along the side and just rotate and I pinch. Pinch. It's all about the pinch.
Where are the Molly? The rats on Molly right now.
Your two thumbs, Gretchen.
I'm pinching with this hand, and I'm guiding with the inside hand. And the other problem often people get with their pumpkin pie is that the dough is raw on the bottom when they cook it. So what the best thing to do for that would be to do what we call a blind bake. Liberals will understand blindness, just following blindly and not questioning anything.
I thought that's what they do.
That's what they do. All right. So roughly, this could look a little better, but I'm, running through this for y'all. Okay. So then what I would do is then I get me, here's my dough, but you see the pinch makes a lovely.
Oh, look at that. It's like a little swirly.
It's very cute. Lovely.
Very cute. It's almost like a candy cane.
It's so pretty.
I use 1 egg, a little bit of milk, and then I make a little wash, and that's how you get the nice browning coloring on your pie.
1 egg and a little bit of milk. How much is a
Wait,
little bit?
what was that?
I'm so hungry.
1 egg and a little bit of milk? That was
one egg, not butter.
Wait, a little bit, Gretchen. You said it was
a little bit. You said there's all about measurements and science. How much, Gretchen?
Science doesn't matter when it comes to this. So some people you can do a straight egg wash. Some people will use I get flour in my computer.
Does it have to be like regular milk? Can it be like hemp milk?
Could it be? I don't know.
Gretchen says
might be the fat. But
what about if it's
I'm a girl who
organic
cooks
milk?
with whole milk, so
Whole milk. Okay, whole milk you're recommending.
So Gretchen, everyone wants that on the top, and how does it keep it from at the bottom?
So how you avoid it is you got to do a blind bake. Liberals love following blindly. So here it is. You put in your parchment paper into your pie crust. Then we are going to, if you got big money.
Big money.
That sounded like big money right there. That sounded like big money.
I don't have big money. I got no big money.
That sounded like big money right there.
I use beans. Yes. You
what
can
are
use
those?
pie weights
Pinto
or whatever.
beans?
Okay.
I put beans in my pie crust, and then I'm going to bake the pie crust first.
But wait, with I'm sorry, with wax paper in the oven?
Wait.
No. I use parchment paper. Parchment paper is what
all those
goes
hash
into
people
the
out
oven.
there know how important the difference is.
Yeah.
If you accidentally get wax paper instead of parchment, your life is if you get wax instead of parchment, you're fucked.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked. All right. And so, not that we have time to go through all this, but I baked one for you before.
I love the before and after. That's great.
Yes,
This is a
Oh
real
my
cooking
God.
show. It's a real cooking
Right.
segment.
So there you go. That's a done. So after it blind bakes, she'll take it out.
How
I
long do
have
you blind bake it? That
My
the beans
pumpkin filling ready to go in next. So there's my pumpkin filling that I will do after I blind bake it. I
How
blind
long?
bake it for 20 minutes at an
20
oven
minutes.
of 375.
375.
375 for the crust. Now,
crust.
another thing that I highly recommend for all of y'all who are making pumpkin pie, get real pumpkin. Don't get the pie bullshit mix, because you get two options in the grocery store. You get 100% pumpkin, or you get it already done for you. Take a few extra minutes and do it yourself, and then just follow the recipe on the back. Add your own cinnamon, ginger, cloves, yada yada. Do all that shit, and your pie will be 1,000 times better than the one that's already comes made for you. Those are my tips.
Real pumpkins.
Gretchen, you have
Yes.
totally unfucked me for pumpkin pie. Okay.
So if you make a pie later, if you have
You
questions
blew
and
my
you
mind.
need help, feel free to slide
Reach
into
out
my
to
DMs or something, and I'll tell. I don't know. I'll help you.
Send an email to Panoptic Strategies.
Or at Gretchen Gailey on Instagram. I'm very original in my naming.
Very original.
All right. Well,
That's
thank
all
you
I
so
got.
much
Go
for
to
that.
somebody else. Is
You're
that good enough?
You're
or
the
do you want
best.
more?
Yeah, no,
That was
you're good.
fantastic.
We're good.
All right.
We're ready to move on. Are you ready to do our next introduction?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I didn't set my timer. Shit.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
It's Dale, and that's your introduction, but Dale Schaefer.
Oh, fuck. I was just hitting the
It's all
button
good.
to get there.
It's
God
all good.
damn it.
I was trying to figure out whether I'm
God
vegan or not, or
damn
where I
it.
fit.
Dale Schaefer, 35 years
Yeah.
practicing attorney, 23 years in the cannabis space. Dale's a former member of Club Fed, serving 52 months for cultivation of intent to distribute to a handful of terminally ill patients, where he learned how to make jail pie. He started his cannabis adventure as a co-owner of the California Medical Center and is now the founding partner of Armada Law Corp. Dale, you figured out your computer this morning, all on your own. What do you have for us today?
I'm actually educatable. It's amazing. What I have is out of health news, a story by Beth Ann Mayer. Okay. It asks the questions, what are the medical benefits under Colorado's decriminalization they just entered into? And this story starts off with a veteran who, tragically came back from war, had PTSD, a lot of other problems. Took him a while to figure out that taking mushrooms was pretty good for him. Now, I represent Weed for Warriors, so this is a discussion we have a lot. Predominantly PTSD. I'm a disabled veteran. I was diagnosed with PTSD. Enthogenics work well for it. So it's a good segue into Colorado did something in two parts. It decriminalized cultivation or growing, possession, and use of entheogens. Okay. But it also set up this theoretical regulation model, which those of us in California know is just bend over and lube up, because this is going to be a shit show as they try to figure out who's an ideologue and opposes this, and how do you do the sausage making here. But this comes from a medical perspective. Now, my firm consults with people regularly about mushrooms, especially with entheogens, and how this works. And there's a two-part discussion: de jure, what is the law, and then de facto, what are people actually doing out there? Now, if you don't get arrested for entheogens anymore, I'm a solid supporter of that. Take it away from the cops. Don't let them arrest you. Okay. But the next question is, they're going to set up healing centers. And there's two approaches to mushrooms, especially, but entheogens. Let's do the religious route or the medical route. Cannabis got its breakthrough through the medical route. So I think we're going to follow a lot of those same sort of ideas. The big difference with entheogens, and especially mushrooms and LSD, is after World War II, the CIA and the Public Health Service got very interested in finding a truth serum. We want to give you something that makes you tell us what we want you to know. If we got you in custody and we're interrogating you, and they found out that, Jesus, this stuff works great for depression. So we have a body of government knowledge, funded research from the 50s and 60s before Tim Leary pissed off Richard Nixon and we lost all this stuff. So now the government is launching research into phase 3 trials. What's the efficacy? We still really haven't gotten there with weed into phase 3. Sue Sisley managed to get a study through after being tortured for years to show that, oh, if a PTSD sufferer smokes weed, my God, it makes their life better. Well, shit, Stevie Wonder could see that. We had to jump through all these damn hoops. I think we're ahead of the game with entheogens because there's a body of research the government can't pretend doesn't exist. Okay. So now how do we implement this? There are places like Oakland, San Francisco, where it's, you know, it's a low priority for enforcement. So there's a place where de facto, we're going to see brands develop. But when you go into the clinical setting, and this article is from clinicians, what kind of facility are you going to have to qualify as one of these healing centers? That's a big question. Though it's going to happen de facto. People will open up places and actually be there. But to get a permit from the government to do it, the government, when it gets involved, will fuck up a wet dream. So what we're going to have here is incremental implementation in different places. And you go, all right, this makes no sense. It's schizophrenic. That's just the facility. What do you got to have there? You got to have, you know, HVAC systems so spores don't get anywhere, that the kind of stupid shit we deal with weed. But then who's going to get to be certified by the government to be a facilitator or whatever it is to take people on their journeys? So what I see reading the tea leaves here is we're going to have 3 to 5 years of just nonsensical, stupid bullshit, trying to figure out how to do this, what people are actually doing every day. And there's thousands of years of histories of journeys using entheogens. So there's a lot of historical evidence of how it was used spiritually. And I don't know that you could go back 3,000 years and have someone say, oh, this helps with your depression. But when it's woven into your spiritual practices, and we know what it does for depression and a lot of the problems we suffer from today, it's not a leap to know people are going to do this. And they'll work it out de facto as the government tries to figure out how to get out of their own goddamn way and not over-regulate or over-tax it, or both of these things. So that's a discussion we will have as this rolls out, and we'll see if the clinical model works better than the spiritual model or the religious model. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Dale, thank you for bringing this to us today. I am super excited to see things moving forward, and I'm also really excited to see some of the amazing people that are working on the psychedelic movement as a whole. And not to say that the weed people weren't cool, but like, I feel like there's just another level of like, bringing us to the next level. And I've said it before, I think cannabis was kind of chilling us out. And I think the psychedelic movement is going to allow us to like actually excel as a human race in a way that we need to. So I hope that this moves forward in a more positive manner than we did, and more conscious manner than we did. But also I'm, super concerned at the same time that it's just going to get taken and swooped up on us by the government.
Well, I'm a scientist at my core. And in 1963, Meshulam finally identified THC. And what followed was the endocannabinoid system. Our brain makes DMT. Okay. And so if it makes it, there's a system for it to trigger different receptors in the brain and in the body. So we're going to see science, let's do studies and see where it is and track it and see if we can figure it out. That's going to move forward. But we're not starting from everybody hates weed. It's got no medical use. We're going to fight it for 50 years. We are way down the road.
Yeah.
But this is coming because when they got the SSRIs, Prozac and those for mild to moderate depression, it was no better than a goddamn sugar pill. They hid that for a long time. For people who suffer from mild to moderate depression, this is a godsend. How can we get this into people's hands and teach them how to use it? Because it's better than Prozac.
I have a fun story. I was working at a company in Long Beach at distribution, and my HR person came to me and was like, so we got a report that people are doing mushrooms at work. And I was like microdoses or like tripping balls? I like looked at her and said that. I'm like, and they're like microdoses. I was like, oh, well, I do microdoses too. And they're like, we know, they reported you. And I'm like, Oh, fun. So it gets brought up all the way up to the lawyers to be like, how do we handle this? And I told them, I was like, you guys have to fire me if you're going to fire anybody, because they wanted to fire a bunch of people on the team. And I was like, legally, I'm in charge. And I knew everyone was on fucking microdoses because we're all trying to be better people. And so I was like kind of co-signing to it. So I had to tell my boss to fire me at a company because they wanted to like cover their ass. And so I like, on mushrooms at work, fired myself for doing mushrooms at work.
Well, but Nicole, when you use the term microdosing, it really, I mean, for people like us who use it, know what a microdose feels like. How do you tell a naive person this is a microdose? We are not at a point yet where we've gotten to the micrograms of,
Right.
Psilocybin or DMT,
Right.
whatever it's going to be, and we can teach people to titrate. So there's some scary times coming. Because I know people who call me, it's like, that microdose, man, I'm frying balls right now. You got to talk me down. It's like, well, it's 9 a.m, dude. This is going to be a long day for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
Well,
but there's not a public safety issue.
We only have 5 minutes left. We got to make sure we get to Liz. We
Hey.
appreciate you so much, Dale. Absolutely amazing to talk about this, and I hope this keeps moving forward. Liz Grow, cannabis storyteller, advocate from the Lone Star State. She's the co-founder of Grow House Media, and you can find her weekly on her podcast, Feminized, where she interviews the dopest women. I've been one of them. I'm so thankful for that, Liz. Happy Thanksgiving. Founder, you can find her on YouTube and anywhere else, but always find her here on the High at 9 News. Liz, what do you have for us?
Hey, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so glad that we get to close out the show with this story. It's it's one that it's reminiscent of a story close to my heart, which is Brittany Griner, who is gone for the next 9 years of her life in a Russian penal colony for having cannabis as her medicine and being caught with that in Russia. But here is the story, you guys. The EU top court rules that a Russian man receiving cannabis treatment should be able to stay in the Netherlands. Okay, so you guys, this just happened, and I'm so happy for this man and his family that he's able to stay in the Netherlands to continue his cannabis treatment. It took him 2 tries, but this patient who said that he relies on medical marijuana treatment and it helps him live without significant pain, the court said, yes, you can stay in the Netherlands, even though Russia is adamantly opposed to cannabis. And so, this story, while it's exciting for this man and this man's family, it makes us remember, and it kind of wakes us up again and again to the fact that, there are people suffering in Russia, Americans suffering in Russia for cannabis, and one of them being the WNBA star Brittany Griner. So she's serving a 9-year sentence in a penal colony right now after being convicted of bringing cannabis-infused vape cartridges into the country in February. Now she's had doctor's notes. She's had all of the support that you could imagine. I don't give our federal government any credit whatsoever, and I don't expect them to step up to the plate for Americans. But she has received a lot of support from Americans and from the medical community, yet still she is living in a penal colony. The story is very close to my heart because I'm a Texan, she's a Texan. Our birthdays are one day apart. I'm a little bit older, but truly, I mean, she's a wonderful soul and a great American. She's a 2-time Olympian, and she's suffering in Russia. And yet this Russian man, gets to stay in the Netherlands to continue his cannabis treatment. That's the big story here. I would love to hear what you guys have to think about that.
A political asylum for weed is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like I've had 2 friends in my life that were family that got political asylum from Indonesia, and the story of what that looks like to get political asylum from a fucked up situation is the craziest story. Like I've heard some stories, but like political asylum and how they got here is by far some of the like craziest stories. But the idea that cannabis is the reason they're getting political asylum is probably the coolest part of the story to me, because that's huge. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's huge, and it's very exciting. But it's like we are all thankful, as Dale mentioned. First and foremost, I'm thankful every day I'm not in jail. We should all be so thankful that we're here and we're free and we're with our families today, when so many cannabis patients are suffering and are sitting in jail and facing severe consequences for their medicine. So yes, I'm excited and grateful that there's progress. but definitely not forgetting those that are in jail right now who don't have that asylum.
Without a doubt. I love this story. I think this is fantastic that the Netherlands did this and the EU ruled this way. This is great news and sets a great precedence. But again, I'm not that surprised because I do know that in the EU, if you are a patient in a country of a part of the European Union, you can travel to any European Union country with your cannabis.
That's rad.
That's great. That's
Yes.
awesome.
It's
Yay,
really cool.
EU.
So, but oh yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Super thankful for the show and for everyone tuning in out there. Thank you guys for giving us your Thanksgiving morning or afternoon, for that matter, on the East Coast. I think Jason, yeah.
What's that?
It's time to go. It's 10 a.m.
Pass safe banking.
10 a.m. and pass safe banking already. But nonetheless, thank you all for getting high at 9 with us today and every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience, supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Thank you to all of our haters for still talking about us. And a huge thank you to True Classic, LAXCC, and DNA Genetics for helping us to keep the lights on. Thank you to our correspondents for absolutely amazing. And thank you to cannabis for giving us a reason to do this every day. Thank you to 3 is 4 and Zaza Simone for holding us down. And as well, thank you for helping us create this space in the miniverse. And nonetheless, but thank you all to you guys at home for tuning in to us, sharing your Thanksgiving day with us, allowing us this time in your home. And thank you for getting high at 9 with us. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.